Hi everyone, and welcome to another painting guide by Tabletop Wars. Today we'll be painting the Myphitic Blight-Hauler. I've already assembled and primed the model with Corax White. The first part of the model we're going to paint is the flesh. To paint the flesh, we're actually going to use 3 shades. The first shade we're going to add is Druchii Violet. Once we've applied the Druchii Violet and it's dried, we're then going to go over it with Athonian Camel shade. Once the Athonian Camel shade has dried, we're going to go over that with a light layer of Drakenhof Nightshade. The final step is to dry brush with Slaanesh Grey, and that's all of the flesh. The weapon mounts are going to be base coated with Vallejo's Russian uniform World War II. For all the trim, we're going to add a base layer of Balthazar Gold. We're then going to shade this with Agrax Earthshade. The highlighting is done with a mix of Vallejo Copper and Vallejo Chrome. Moving on to the tracks, we're going to start by painting a base coat of Vallejo Gunmetal. Followed by a wash of Nuln Oil. Once the Nuln Oil has dried, we're going to stain the tracks by adding splotches of Seraphim Sepia and Agrax Earthshade to random parts of the metal. This will give it a dirty, rusty look. Then we dry brush the tracks and all the metal with Vallejo Copper. For the final step, we pick out some of the details and the edge highlights with Vallejo Chrome. Moving on to the leather straps, we're going to add a base coat of Baylor Brown. Which we'll then wash with Druchii Violet. And finally highlight with Kislev Flesh. For the teeth, we base coat them in Rakarth Flesh. We then add a wash of Seraphim Sepia. To make the teeth look darker at the top and brighter at the bottom, we're going to add a light wash of Agrax Earthshade to the base of the teeth, and we're going to blend this into the Seraphim Sepia. To complete the transition at the tip of the teeth, we're going to add a little bit of Vallejo Bone White. For the tubing, we're going to use a base layer of Kislev Flesh, followed by a wash of Reichland Fleshshade, and finally we're going to highlight with Pallid Witch Flesh. We're also going to use Pallid Witch Flesh to do the lens. For the fungal growth on top, I kept it simple and added a base layer of Vallejo Deep Yellow, which I then washed with Drakenhof Nightshade, thereby making it look green. Moving on to the armor, we're going to apply a heavy wash of Seraphim Sepia all over the Corax White. Once dry, we're going to add streaks and stains to the armor using Agrax Earthshade and Nuln Oil. We'll also try to get these in the recesses and the cracks and all the holes. We're going to pick out all the details in the armor and do some edge highlighting using Corax White. For the multi-gun, we're going to paint on some muzzle burn. To do this, we're going to use a simple technique using 3 washes. First, in the middle of the multi-gun, we're going to apply a light layer of Seraphim Sepia. Then, right beside that, we're going to add a light layer of Juki Violet. And finally, at the end of the multi-gun, we're going to add a layer of Drakenhof Nightshade. For the boils, we're going to start off with a base layer of Everland Sunset. Then we're going to add a small dot of Pallid Witch Flesh. And then finally, we're going to give it all a wash with Reichland Flesh Shade. Now for just a few of the finishing touches. First, we're going to paint the islands with Vallejo Green Fluorescent. And while the paint is still wet, we're going to add a dot of Vallejo Yellow Fluorescent to the center of the lens. For the little scar on the side of the hauler, we're going to add blood for the blood god. And of course, no Death Guard army will be complete without adding some Nurgle's Rot. We're also going to add Nurgle's Rot to the mouth of the hauler. And there we have it, a fully painted Myphitic Blight-Hauler ready to join Papa Nurgle's army and spread the rot.